The advice I would give to any Canadian company would be, first of all, to think that Asia, to keep in mind that Asia is very large, it's very diverse. Just the distance from New Delhi to Tokyo is more than 2 times that from London to Moscow. And so therefore, you don't take on Asia in one go. You figure out, where in Asia do you want to go? Do you want to go to China or India or Japan or South Korea or Indonesia? So that's number one. And the second is that wherever you go, to be clear about what's your competitive advantage. Because obviously, Asia has 4 billion people. And, it's easy to say that, well, if every one of the 4 billion people, drank one more cup of coffee, you could create a company as large as Nestle. But again, we are not the only ones to have discovered that Asia has 4 billion people. There are 1,000 other companies that have done that. So why should I win? So that's the second thing that companies need to keep in mind. And a third, if I add at the top level, would be to start by, let's say, finding a beachhead. A beachhead where you can get traction, where the risks are low, where you can, begin to make some money, begin to learn without losing your shirt, and then to say, what's the next thing I do in Asia? I think, clearly Canada gets a little bit, let's say, overwhelmed by the US, which is obviously a very visible country with a very visible brand. But at the same time, the Canada, I think when I think of branding for Canada, I think of really branding of Canada as part of the club of rich, technologically advanced, sophisticated nations. And that isn't a bad thing, because essentially what it says is that if a Canadian company is targeting either in the B2C space or in a B2B space, customers in Asia, even if they don't know a whole lot about Canada, they would start by assuming that, look, if it's a Canadian company, they've got to know what they are doing. They've got to be technologically advanced. They've got to be professionally managed. And so therefore, the last mile, if you will, that you have to cross in terms of getting them to really understand Canada or your particular company isn't necessarily that large. I think the biggest mistake, or actually I'd say 2, they are intertwined, biggest mistakes that I have seen companies make, that I've seen Canadian companies make, is number one, to assume that the market is a little bit like Canada, not a whole lot different. If you essentially, know how to win in Canada or you know how to win in the US, and if you just go and replicate your DNA, you're going to succeed. That doesn't work because most Asian markets, including Japan, are actually very different, number one. Number 2 is even if the company is smart about knowing what the Asian customer wants, to not be clear about why should my company win. Because you see, exactly, Asia is 60% of the world's population, it's 30% of the world's GDP, and everybody and his mother has discovered Asia. And so therefore, I'm not the only company that's trying to target Asian customers. Why should I win?